It isn't just text messages hurting the legitimacy of Mueller's investigation, of course. The FBI's infamous reliance on the Trump dossier is doing a good job as well. Republican Congressman Ron DeSantis of Florida says that use of the dossier undermines the basic legitimacy of the FBI's warrant to investigate the Trump campaign following last year's election. And Congressman DeSantis joins us now. This is a very interesting legal point you made. If this dossier was the pretext for the entire investigation, it's a kind of almost absurd fruits of the poisonous tree thing, in that it's not a legitimate pretext for an investigation. Is that correct?
Yeah, and just think about where this dossier came from. This was paid for by Hillary Clinton, the Democratic Party. They paid millions of dollars to Perkins Cole law firm, who then laundered it to Fusion GPS. So you have Fusion GPS producing this thing. I think Christopher Steele was more of a cover to make it look like an intelligence product. But to this day, the FBI can't verify anything in it other than one person associated with Trump traveled to Russia at some point. So this stuff is bogus, it's fake news, and you expect that kind of stuff to be generated in the course of a political campaign. But if that is presented to the FBI and then they're taking that unverified dossier and launching a federal counterintelligence investigation without anything more, to me, that raises some serious questions. And was it Peter Strzok who was involved? Remember, the key text message was he was in Andrew McCabe's office and they were talking about, Lisa Page said, oh, Donald Trump can't win. And Strzok says, you know, I don't think the FBI can take that risk. We need an insurance policy basically against Trump's election. So the question is, was that dossier and the subsequent investigation and surveillance the insurance policy he referenced in those text messages?
And what you're saying here is that it comes before a FISA judge who isn't an expert in intelligence matters, but it's got the FBI imprimatur. It's kind of got an MI6 imprimatur because the spook appears to have credentials. And in a sense, it would appear to be a plausible document if laid before a judge. Is that correct?
Well, that's the question. You know, we've asked the Department of Justice, the FBI, to give us the information about how the dossier got in their possession. Did they pay for the dossier, and how did they use the dossier? Did they use it as the basis to get these FISA warrants? And they've basically refused to answer those questions. This is going to come to a head because I think you're going to see a contempt of Congress if they don't produce this to the Intelligence Committee. But that's the question. And here's the thing, Mark. If the answer to all those questions was no, then they would just say no. The fact that they haven't, to me, raises some serious questions.
Well, you've said that they've been looking at this thing for a year and a half now, and Christopher Steele cooked it up in a few weeks. They've been unable to corroborate anything except that some guy at some point got on a plane to Russia, but they don't know what he did once he got off the plane in Russia. How many more months or years do they need to supposedly attempt to corroborate this nonsense?
Look, I think it's time to put up or shut up. This whole thing started, you know, obviously after Strzok and these guys started the counterintelligence. When Mueller got appointed, I think Rosenstein made a big mistake because what he was doing was he was superimposing a criminal prosecutor on top of a counterintelligence investigation. Right. And how good of an investigation that was, obviously, there's a lot of concern about that. But there's never been a crime identified here. You can believe that Russia tried to hack different people's email accounts, but that doesn't mean that there was a criminal conspiracy with Trump's campaign, and there's never been information provided to substantiate that. So I think if he can't answer that question, then I think we need to move on. I think you are going to see the committees in Congress move on, and I think the result is going to be no collusion.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Congressman. Thanks for that. More liberals are turning on Hillary Clinton. We'll discuss a liberal magazine that is begging her not to run again next. And we'll show you President Obama's attack on the power of social media. All that coming next.